How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to another video. Alright, so before we begin this, I want to go ahead and say that I'm going to be starting another series here reasonably soon, probably around August. The Baldur's Gate 3 will be coming out, and I'm going to be playing with my wife and my father. So we're going to start a series doing that. I thought that'd be kind of fun. I don't know how many of you are actually into those kind of games, but I'll have a series I'll still be doing For Honor and stuff like that in the meantime as well. But let's get right into this. So context behind this, I was playing with a couple friends. We were doing some private matches. We had about, I think, 6-7 people, that we were playing with, and we all started talking about how we would rate some of the characters. We ended up kind of splitting them into their own tier, like the Vanguard, Assassin. Most of those lines are pretty blurred right now. So we thought it would be, at least I thought it was interesting enough, so I took some notes, and we decided on the rankings for the Vanguards. We talked about the Assassins, Heavies, all that. And then we talked about the general tier list, but I decided to make it not a 50-minute video, to go ahead and kind of split them up and talk about certain things. And the reason for that is because you'll have Vanguard orders, Assassin orders, Heavy orders, and Hybrid orders. So obviously this is subjective and it's just our opinion. We've all been playing since the beta. We've all been, some of us more than others. Like I am the lowest rep in my group, but we've all been playing since the beta. So that's something to keep in mind. So first off, we're gonna take Warden. All right, how's it going, everyone? One thing I want to get clear before we get really into this is just a perspective of me and my friends. This is not meant as an actual tier list. This is meant more as a community chit-chat, basically. What do you think type of thing. Obviously, all of this is subject to change. All of it, if you tell us, hey, by the way, you guys missed this, I think we should add it. We should fix it. Of course, play whoever you want. You shouldn't go after a tier list and all that kind of stuff. You shouldn't follow a tier list exclusively. But now that I have that out of the way, letting everyone know this isn't like my absolute opinion. This is just me and a group of friends talking, and we all agreed on where some of these points were. Let's get right into it, and let's have a fun little talk in the comments and see what we all come up with. Obviously, I had a bit of a bias in this, but of course, we all talked about it and we decided what it was. So we're going to split these up into different groups. We're going to talk about duels, 4v4, and then we'll talk about Breach, because I find Breach to be a little bit different than a 4v4 with the way it plays. So we're going to kind of split those up. So for starters, Warden, I think, is the best duelist. He's anywhere between a 9 and a 10 out of 10. He's got a ton of tools. He's by far considered one of the best duelists in the game. Now, the part where the 9 to a 10 comes in is the skill of the Warden himself. And I did write down some reasons for this. One is, of course, the shoulder bash mix-up. The fact that you can feign it at any point. You can fully charge. You get the armor. You could do it right up in someone's face. Stop at the last minute. It's very strong. He's got the crushing counter, which guarantees him 40 damage plus 15 on the light attack, and then you can go into a shoulder bash mix-up. And if your opponent expects shoulder bash, of course you could do level 1. If you think that they're just waiting, you could do level 2, or if you get the level 3, that's 40 more damage. So you have 55 damage, and then the 40, which would be 95 damage if you're able to get all 3 of those. I mean, the counter, full charge, heavy. Making it ridiculous if someone eats that whole thing. But the other thing, you'll notice a lot of Wardens do this. When they get the crushing counter, you're going to full charge, and most people will try to dodge. They want to get hit by the full. And then that, that's a side heavy. That's 30 damage. So you're still looking at a very high damage output. The other reason I put him this high is his damage. His damage is super high, and he does have an unblockable. I think any character with an unblockable, when someone's out of stamina, it's always a good mix-up. And Warden's is especially interesting because you can use this basically whenever, and if someone does go for it, you can set up a crushing counter if they don't faint fast enough, which on console a lot of people have some issue stopping the unblockable, and then I get a free crushing counter, thus giving me the 45 damage and the mix-up again. So that is going to be the reasoning why we put him as one of the best duelists. Now moving on to the 4v4, he's still the best in a 1v1, even in 4v4. He's definitely strong. Here's the downsides. We gave him a 7.5 out of 10, and here is the reasons that we kind of gave him down a little bit. Is his feats are good. They're not anything to write home about. I mean, they're fine for what they do. His first one is basically always body count in a 4v4, which is okay. Some of his other ones just aren't all that useful, whereas some of the other characters do get really good first feats. His second is kind of just whatever you want to use. Some people use the stamina grenade, other people use the immunity to bleed, which can be good if someone has bleed on the other team. It basically shuts down Nabushi and Peacekeeper, which is why I run it. And lastly, he can have issues in a gank if people know how to fight Warden. Warden's best tools in a gank are the zone, and then if you get a parry, you get a heavy, or zoning, switching targets, and then throwing out another heavy to catch someone that's attacking. But with it being like that, he's very predictable. I've never really seen Wardens do all that great in a gank. They can, of course. Obviously, you always have that once in a lifetime, I just murdered everyone in a gank. And if you're really good at parrying, the Warden can be very, very good. Let's talk about Breach now. We gave him 8 out of 10. And the reason we gave him a little bit higher of a grade here is Breach being a bigger area, you're going to be in a lot more 1v1s, so it's going to favor him a little bit more than before. Obviously, you'll still have your ganks, but in Breach, you're normally only having maybe a 2-man gank, and that's much more reliable than having 4 people on you in a Dominion, which is why I'm going to give it, a higher grade here. Again, his perks are good, and his ad control is decent. You get the 2 heavies on ads. It takes 2 heavies to kill, unless you have an attack boost in which each heavy will destroy a pikeman. It's not as good as some of the other characters, but it has enough sweeping that it gets the job done. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next one. Alright, we're going left to right, so next up we'll have Raider, which is a character I've used to play quite a bit. He basically became my main Vanguard for a long period of time. And that's just due to the fact that he has some interesting play styles that he can go with. So, getting right on into this, I think it's important to point out some of the stuff that Raider has currently. I don't know if they're ever going to change some of this, but what he has currently is pretty good. So he's going to get the lowest score, in my opinion, and in the rest of my group's opinion, in terms of duels. On PC, he's very difficult to win in a duel unless you're getting the light parries, in which case he does good damage on his heavies. So his mix-ups really aren't anything special. He can soft feint into guard break, he could soft feint into the top light. Otherwise, it's just kind of feinting in your face and hoping that something happens. But if you do this and someone predicts it, they can light attack through your soft feint. And then it's their turn. If you go for this, that's a top light, which means they can parry, and they get a, Warden would get a top heavy, which is, and it only comes from one direction, which is the main reason it's kind of dangerous. His damage is obviously good. The other pro is he does get armor, so if you have someone that's attack crazy, you can kind of get away from him a little bit. This guy would let me have some room, and then you have 2 armor heavies afterward, and you can trade. Raider definitely has enough health to trade. So that's a good. His guard break is good. You can run with him, slam him up against the wall. You get a light attack off of that. Let's go ahead and spin him around real quick. And then out here, if you were to get it, you can drop him at any point and you get a zone. The other thing that I put him down as really good is how good his throws are. Even up against this wall, I mean, you just spin someone around, slam him up against the next wall. His throws are very good. So I think that that is a little bit of a reward, is how good the throws are. The other thing you can do, and this is up against the wall type of thing, is if your opponent's out of stamina and you get a guard break, if you do the full spin around here, you get a heavy into zone. Unless you do that, you would get a heavy into zone while they're on the ground. If you throw them and it ends up being an open area, same thing, type of thing goes, where they'll fall on the ground, you'll get a dashing into that. So if you throw them and it's an open area, dash, and then you get the zone. If you want one more damage, you can actually do this and do a top heavy. Gives you one more damage, but I think it looks cooler doing the zone. It flows a little bit better. Other problem that we gave him is he's just kind of slow. His heavies in general are very slow. Some people can be deceived at how slow they really are because, you know, his heavies are slow. His final light attack is also very slow, has a long wind up, pretty easy to parry, if we're going to be honest. So let's move on. We'll do 4v4s now. So he got a 6 out of 10 in duels. This whole thing that he used to be able to do really well, it can still play a role, but most people have found out, I mean, you can zone attack him, you can light attack him, you can kind of just do whatever you want and try to predict him. So 4v4, we gave him 8.5. And once again, damage is really good. His armor definitely contributes to the score because he's got good damage, good armor. In ganks, this is really good. Run him to the wall. Everyone gets a free heavy in while they're on the wall. Or while you're carrying them, people can get heavies in. His guard break has a long little thing here where, you know, people can hit him while you have it. In addition, his zone is really good in a gank. It's got pretty good range. He moves forward quite a bit. The one downside is that you hit your teammates with a lot of his heavies and his zone, so be kind of cautious with it. But if you have someone that's turtling, you could just endlessly kind of do one of these things, get them to do something while someone gets a guard break. Or you could even soft feint out of that. So other things, his feats are really good. His feats are I'd say a little bit better than Warden's. The main point with him is he works well with a team. If you have a well-organized team, you're going to do really well with Raider. And I think that's where he's going to shine the most, is 4v4. Now, let's talk about Breach. In my opinion, it's basically the same. He has a couple more 1v1s, but if he sticks with a team, he'll do perfectly fine. And if you're up against a good Raider that knows how to parry and all that, you're not going to have to worry about it. And his minion control is very good because, again, he gets 3 heavies, or you could do 2 heavies and a zone. His minion control, pikemen I mean by minions, is very good. So let's go ahead and talk about Kensei. Alright, now we got the Kensei. So, we'll go ahead and talk about duels here real quick. We gave him an 8 out of 10. And that is because his mix-ups, his damage, his armor, he has an unblockable mix-up, he has the palm strike, his dodge attacks are very good. He also has superior guard. You can dash in to an opponent's attack, kind of like a deflect, and get your heavy or your light off. Or you also could do the dash forward heavy, or you could even dash forward and guard break after you get it. His soft feints are very strong. his light, heavy, guard break, soft feints in particular. His zone is really good. His reach is very good. And yeah, that's what we'll talk about for the what do you call it? Duels. We're talking about duels. Jesus. This is very quick. This is also very quick, which then goes into this. You get a guard break. Other things, you can get a side light with armor. You get a side heavy with armor, and the heavy is also feightable if you wish as well. Except I'm not pressing the right button. So then you could do something like that. He's very good at mixing up his opponents. And the zone, sometimes you just let the second one fly. Sometimes you cancel, you go back into pressure. Off any of his side dodges, you can immediately go into this mix-up, which again, you get this, wall splat, you get the overhead heavy, which does good damage. You can also, off any of his heavies, basically, his top heavies, you can do this kind of stuff. Off the palm strike, unblockable, which is pretty quick, you get a light attack. In addition to his lights, you do get armor on the third. So if you land 2, a lot of people just go ahead and go for the third. His heavies, you also get armor on the finisher. But with all of these tools, you get a lot of armor, and he does quite a bit of damage. So he's going to be my next Vanguard that I play after I'm done with leveling up Warden. Or at least to the point where Warden is pointless to level up anymore. So talking about 4v4, we gave him a 9.5. His feats are crazy good. He even has that level 4, the unblockables, where just every one of his attacks is an unblockable. You throw out some lights, throw out his zone, it's all unblockable. Who really cares what you throw out, right? His downside in 4v4 is he hits his teammates quite a bit because of his wide range. So be a little cautious with that. Basically, all of his upsides in 4v4 are listed above. He's also very good in a gank. With all the armor, he can kind of hit through whatever he wants. He could do, a quick hit through, switch, use the light attack. His zone hits almost all around him. So he can dodge away from attacks while simultaneously attacking. He has multiple mix-ups he can do whenever he wants. He's very good in a gank. I think he's one of the best Vanguards in a gank in our opinion. So talking about Breach real quick, we gave him another 9.5. He's got huge sweeping attacks, which makes the pikeman control very good. In addition, he's pretty good in a one-on-one, and he's pretty good in a gank, and he's good in a team fight, assuming you know how to not hit your teammates too often. So he probably is one of the best all-round, and he does have good health. He's got good damage as well. So that's pretty much all I have listed to say about Kensei. Obviously, this isn't like a detailed guide into the character or anything. But yeah, let me know down below if you have anything else to add about Kensei. I think he's just a super solid character. So we'll go ahead and move on to the last one, which will be Alright, so as I said, next up is Sante. We have him kind of listed as the slippy type of character. He's obnoxious, but he's also good at the same time, if that makes any sense. So we gave him 7 out of 10 in duels, which is 1 higher than Raider and 1 lower than Kensei. And mainly because he doesn't have a whole lot of good mix-ups, but he is strong without needing them. But he's not Kensei strong. He doesn't have a crap load of armor, high damage. His damage is definitely lower. So the pros is definitely the zone. It's very quick, long-reaching. Definitely a pro. He has a deflect, where if you dash into it, you do a light. It becomes unblockable if you dash through their attack. I'm not sure if it's a 100% guaranteed deflect, but again, I don't really play this character. I was going off of what one of my friends was saying. He plays Teandi, so I'm kind of going off what he has mentioned here. His dodging is extremely good, which makes him very slippery. A lot of attacks where you could catch like a dodging Orochi, for instance, where if they're doing the side dodge light and you can kind of catch them while dodging with a heavy. So like if Warden does a mix up and Orochi goes for the side dash and I threw out a heavy, it normally catches like his foot or something. It will not catch this man. It won't. And I don't know, I get that he's the dodge specialist and he's really good at it, which is why we said he's kind of slippery, hard to get. His light into Palm Strike, again, super good. Palm Strike in general guarantees a light, which is very good. His kick, so I can't confirm this because I've never seen it, but my friend claims it's true. I've seen a YouTube video after he mentioned it, so I kind of Googled it a little bit. When you get the kick, he said that you can get, if you do it properly, a dashing forward light. I don't know where I have to be able to do that. I don't know. I'm not a Teandi expert. Let me know down below if you actually can do that or not. I'm not sure like when I have to do it, or if it's like long into the animation then you do it. You know, like that might work, but then again I hit the gate. So, all right, we'll move on to 4v4. His feats are good. They're very good in a team, very team-oriented character. A lot of armor, a lot of health. Very good. He plays the role of kind of a slippery, annoying harasser very well, and I think that's where he shines the most in 4v4. Is kind of like the Shinobi vibe, where he's there, but then he's hitting you, and then he's gone again, and then you're trying to hit him while he's doing one of these kind of things, while his team is smacking you. So he's hard to deal with, I think, is his big pro, in my opinion at least. And then the zone, you can also go into a kick immediately after that first hit, and again, the kick can be dodged out of if you want. If I could stop sucking for 5 seconds. There we go. You can dodge out of it, so you don't actually have to throw it. So that got him an 8.5 out of 10 for the 4v4s. His zone is really good in the gank. You'll see this a lot. Sometimes they'll just throw that last hit. Doing this into this, you know. Teandi's, you'll see this a lot in the gank. They just kind of switch targets and keep doing it. And then sometimes they'll let it fly, sometimes they won't. And then doing this, trying to get away from everyone, works really well. I almost want to play him, but at the same time, it's just not really my play style. I like being kind of up close, mid-range-ish, but right in my opponent's face. I don't like trying to dodge through everything. So Breach, we gave him an 8, and the only reason we gave him one less point is just because his feats work really well in a group, and sometimes in Breach you won't be surrounded by teammates, so it's kind of a dual-edged sword, if you will. But that basically does it now. I'll be honest. So the final scores are here. I'll be honest. Kensei, we were given 27 out of 30 as a character. Kensei got 27 out of 30. Warden got 25.5 out of 30. And remember, this is all around. This isn't meant to be, you know, making fun of any characters or anything like that. Raider was going to get a 23. Teandi gets a 23.5. I can't in my soul give Teandi that 0.5 more than Raider. I just don't want Raider to be that lonely person all the time. Like, he's been considered low tier for so long, so I'm going to give them a 0.5 of respect, because people that stick with them are really good with them. So I got to give them that 0.5. That way we got 27 for Kensei, 25.5 for Warden, and then we got Raider and Sante at 23.5. I know that might ruffle some feathers, and the whole point was who's the best and who's, all that kind of stuff. And this is just a talk, It's nothing serious. This is just getting the community to talk. I'm not trying to say this is definitive or anything. So I think that is it. Let me know what you guys think down below. Let me know if anything should probably change. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, this is just kind of what we all agreed on and discussed. We'll do a couple other ones over the other characters, and then we'll do one where we just take the points we have in total, kind of add them up, and see where everyone lands on the tier list. So we'll get those out as well. So see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching.